There's going to be lots about cancel culture in the show tonight. Apart from anything else, our second guest this evening is the one and only Low Key, the supremely talented and even more dedicated campaigning musician, songwriter and activist who's in the teeth right now of an attempt to cancel him. This was a week in which some very big names indeed were cancelled off the mainstream social media platforms. None more important than the legendary Pepe Escobar, the Renaissance man who writes and broadcasts in multiple languages about all theatres in the world, economic, political and military. A man followed by scores of thousands of people was disappeared just like that by Twitter in particular, though others have been strangling him regularly over the last few months. It appears that Pepe Escobar just told too many truths. And then there was the military and strategic giant Scott Ritter, a former US Marines intelligence officer, a former head United Nations arms inspector, who dismantled weapons of mass destruction in the former Soviet Union and in Iraq. His take, his analysis on the war has now been taken from us. Like Pepe Escobar, brutally cancelled by the big mainstream social media platforms. Of course, you can still find both of these significant political, cultural, military, strategic figures if you go searching for them. But you do have to go searching for them. I myself am threatened with the removal of my right to travel outside of the country. In other words, my passport might be confiscated were I to make a television program in Britain for RT. Now, I have no problem with the British state deciding that nobody in Britain can watch me on RT. That's a matter for them and for the British people that should be taking them to account. But hasn't it come to something when a figure like me, almost 30 years a member of the British Parliament, I think most people would agree, a prominent voice in British politics for many years, a man who not even 1 year ago polled 22% of the vote in a parliamentary by-election. Someone like me, the leader of a registered British political party, the Workers' Party of Britain, a man whose work has appeared everywhere, from the Sunday Times to the Spectator to the New Statesman to the Guardian, all over the place. Over decades, you have been able to see what it is that I have to say. But if you are seeing me on Twitter right now, you are seeing me with a falsely applied label just underneath my name, which seeks to discredit anything that I have to say, and which comes accompanied by a shadow ban, making it extraordinarily unlikely that unless you go looking for my tweets that you will ever see them again. My lawyers, KRW Law, human rights lawyers in Ireland, have written to the world headquarters of Twitter in Dublin, warning them that if they do not remove this false label from me in 7 days, 7 working days, which is up tomorrow, then a legal action against Twitter to force them to do so and to secure damages for the harm that has been done by the false application of this label will ensue. I very much hope that by tomorrow a response is forthcoming, but I have my doubts. That's one of the reasons why I threw whatever weight I have behind the takeover bid of Elon Musk, who is offering a eye-watering $43 billion to own all of Twitter. Not because I think Elon Musk is the Messiah, not because I don't disapprove of many of the things that Elon Musk has done and said over the years that I have seen his output, but because give me Elon Musk before the kings of Saudi Arabia, because it transpires that the current board of directors of Twitter, who by the way own between them 0.12% of the company, and who are gravely imperiling, in breach of their fiduciary duties, their responsibility to look after the financial interests of their shareholders, amongst the mainstay of the current board of directors is the royal dictatorship of Saudi Arabia. Imagine, where they chop journalists into pieces, where they behead the truth in plain sight, where no one has any freedom of any kind at all to say anything about the system or the government in Saudi Arabia, are major owners of the public square, the biggest public square the world has ever seen, and are resisting the takeover bid of Elon Musk. You really couldn't make that up. But the truth is that they fear Elon Musk precisely because he is pledged to adhere to the free speech principles of a public square if he manages to take control of Twitter. Now, he may let us down. Donald Trump did, after all. But who are you going to back? The kings of Saudi Arabia, or the man who's publicly pledging to end this tyranny of cancellation, strangulation, false labeling of people, as is the current board of Twitter? It's not a hard question for me. It shouldn't be for you. We've got a poll running on it right now on my Twitter, on my YouTube channel, and on my Telegram channel. Should Elon Musk take over Twitter? A, yes. B, no. What have you got to lose? He can't possibly be worse than the people that are running it now. I read people saying we can't have an oligarch owning Twitter. We've already got oligarchs owning Twitter. And let's get this straight. The elected president of the United States of America itself was removed from Twitter by a board of directors beholden to, you guessed it, the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia. You really couldn't make that one up. And in the course of the show, we'll be talking about the war in Ukraine, the war that the United States and its proxy NATO have launched against Russia over the dead bodies of the people in the Ukraine, over the ruination of the country, the poorest country in Europe that was known as Ukraine. According to the Pentagon, the armed forces of the Ukraine are getting through every single day a week's worth of anti-tank munitions supplied to them by the United States. The Pentagon says that it is running short of anti-tank munitions because of the speed with which Ukraine is disposing of them. I don't know how many tanks were destroyed by 1/3 of the entire United States inventory of anti-tank munitions. Precious few if the evidence of this least photographed and filmed of wars is concerned. How many ruined Russian tanks have you seen destroyed by such a Mount Everest of munitions? I'll tell you what I think has happened to America's anti-tank munitions. I think they've been sold. I think they've been otherwise passed to third-party combatants. I think they're probably on the dark web already. I think we are storing up a gigantic problem in the continent of Europe itself of heavy weaponry in the hands of extremists of every type, of Islamist extremists, of Nazi extremists, of ultra-nationalist extremists. And we may very well rue the day that we have poured all these weapons without any proper accountability, and all this money without any proper accountability into a Ukrainian regime which before the war was a byword for corruption, regularly warned by the World Bank and the IMF that if they did not get a handle on the corruption in the country, there would be no more money. But hey, presto, when the United States needed Ukraine as a proxy for a war with Russia, all of that was forgotten, whitewashed. The role of Nazis in Western Ukraine and in the Ukrainian armed forces was whitewashed. And journalists in Poland, the leading journalist in Poland, a Jewish man, has just been sacked from the biggest publication in Poland for refusing to change his copy from Nazi Azov regiment to far-right Azov regiment. As a Polish Jew, he knows all about the Nazis and all about the Einsatzgruppen, all about the Western Ukrainian role in the Holocaust in the East, all about the Ukrainian role at Babi Yar. Now, of course, this war needs to come to an end. This war has been going on far too long, 8 years too long. I was trying to stop this war when most people had never heard of Donetsk, the Donbass, and cared even less. I was trying to stop this war when 14,000 people were being slowly, systematically massacred by the far-right Nazi Azov regiment along the line of control between the Western Ukrainian forces and the forces of the independent republics of Donetsk and Lugansk. I never wanted a Russian invasion of Ukraine. I didn't expect one. In fact, I bet my house that there wouldn't be one. Thank God nobody took me up on it. I was left looking foolish in my predictions that there would be no Russian invasion of the Ukraine. But now there is, and the war needs to come to a negotiated end. Far too many people have died on both sides. Far too many losses have been suffered by the Ukrainian and the Russian side of this conflict, whilst those who arm it, fund it, and proselytize for it sit with the 101st Chairborne Division around the sandpits in the television studios, egging them on for more and more war, when none of them or their sons have any intention of dying to preserve Joe Biden's war plan, to preserve America's hegemony in the world, which is sinking just like the sun is sinking at this time of the evening in the West. Time only for one other subject in my monologue. The Jalsa, the rally in Karachi yesterday of Imran Khan may have been the largest gathering ever of humankind on the planet. Millions and millions of people gathered in Karachi, not Imran Khan's heartland, to reject the imported government sent by the United States of America in a crude, laughably crude coup d'etat regime change operation to remove the elected Prime Minister and his government. I'm not an Imran Khan man. I have never supported him before, but I do support him now because I know a coup when I see one. I know a military coup when I see one. I know an American regime change operation when I see one. And I see all of those in Pakistan right now. The millions in Karachi, followed at least 500,000 in the far less populous Peshawar in the former Northwest Frontier province. It will follow the mass uprising that now exists in Pakistan all over the country and now echoing in the diaspora in the great cities of Britain. And I myself will be speaking at some of those rallies. I'm not asking people to vote for Imran Khan. I'm demanding an election in Pakistan so the people of Pakistan can choose their own government free from foreign interference and prove to the world that Pakistanis will never be slaves. They are free men and women, and they will exercise their right to pick their own government, whatever Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden have to say about it. So the slogan I support in Pakistan is not GA Imran Khan, not PTI. It's election now, free, fair election in Pakistan right now as the only way out of the crisis in a country of 220 million people, strategically placed, geopolitically placed in a place of the highest importance, and of course, the possessor of multiple nuclear warheads. A nuclear armed country is now in a state of absolute turmoil caused by the interference of the United States of America.